Atlanta has seen its fair share of drama, but nothing could have prepared the crew or the fans for what went down on set this week. Cameras were rolling, lights were blinding, and the cast was gearing up for another explosive scene when suddenly, chaos erupted in a way no one could have predicted. Rasheeda, known for keeping her composure even in the messiest of scandals, finally lost it, and the target of her fury. None other than Kendra, the woman who has been walking around like she's untouchable ever since rumors of Kirk's wandering eye resurfaced. What started as sharp words quickly spiraled into an all-out confrontation that got so heated, producers had no choice but to shut everything down. That's right, filming had to stop. Imagine the scene, crew members scrambling, security rushing in, and the rest of the cast frozen in shock as Rasheeda and Kendra's voices echoed across the set. Fans who thought they'd seen it all from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta are already buzzing, saying this might be the most explosive fight in franchise history. But what pushed Rasheeda over the edge? What nerve did Kendra hit that made her abandon every ounce of restraint? And where was Kirk when all of this unfolded? Well, here's the kicker: he was standing right there, silent, watching. His very presence made the situation 10 times worse, with both women throwing accusations in his direction as the crew tried to pull them apart. The energy was electric, the tension unbearable. And whispers say even the cameras those lenses trained to capture every ounce of mess had to be lowered. Yes, the fight was that wild. And now, the internet is demanding answers. Did Kirk fuel this showdown? Was this fight about loyalty, betrayal, or something even deeper? Stick around, because the tea we're about to spill will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Rasheeda, Kendra, and the man caught right in the middle of it all. The set was supposed to be calm that afternoon, just another long filming day for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Producers thought they had everything under control, lighting fixed, storylines mapped out, and cast members briefed. But anyone who has followed this show knows that plans don't mean much when emotions run high, and emotions had been bubbling for weeks. Rasheeda walked in carrying herself with her usual grace, but her eyes told a different story. There was fire behind them, a storm brewing that no one had yet seen unleash. She wasn't there to play nice, and everyone around her could sense it. Crew members whispered to each other, exchanging nervous glances. Because when Rasheeda looks that calm on the surface, it's usually the calm before a hurricane. On the other side of the set, Kendra arrived with an energy that screamed confidence. She strutted in with her head held high, her outfit flawless, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. She had been hearing the whispers, fans saying she was getting too comfortable, that she was living in Rasheeda's shadow, that Kirk's name kept her relevant more than her own moves. Kendra had no intention of dimming her light just to make Rasheeda comfortable. And if anyone thought she would step back quietly, they were dead wrong. She greeted a few people, laughed louder than necessary, and made her presence known in every corner of that room. It was almost like she wanted Rasheeda to notice. The cameras started rolling, capturing the cast settling into the scene producers had set up. But from the moment Rasheeda and Kendra locked eyes, it was clear no script was going to survive what was coming. You could practically feel the tension pressing against the walls. Even Kirk, who had shown up to support both women in his usual half-hearted way, looked uneasy. He kept shifting from one foot to the other, as though he knew he was standing on dangerous ground. It started with a look, a quick glance from Rasheeda that held more weight than 1,000 words. Kendra caught it instantly, and smirked. A smirk that could only be described as gasoline on an open flame. The crew braced themselves, but no one could stop the inevitable. Rasheeda took a step forward, her voice calm but dripping with venom, as she said, "So, you really think you can stand here and act like you own this?" The room went silent. Kendra didn't flinch. Instead, she tilted her head, crossed her arms, and replied, "Why wouldn't I? Clearly somebody had to step up where others dropped the ball. That was all it took." Gasps filled the set. The other cast members shifted uncomfortably, some trying to hide their excitement because they knew the cameras were catching gold. Rasheeda's composure cracked for just a moment, her lips twitching as though she was holding back a flood of words that could scorch the earth. But she didn't hold back for long. She stepped even closer, her heels clicking against the floor like warning shots, and said, "You're real bold for someone who wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the man standing behind you." She jerked her chin toward Kirk, who immediately looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Kirk tried to interject, mumbling something about not doing this right now, but his voice was swallowed by the rising tension. Kendra let out a laugh, sharp and mocking. Oh, so now it's about him. Funny, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're the one who can't let go, always bringing up the past, always needing to remind people, you were here first. Newsflash, Rasheeda being first doesn't always mean being best. The words hit like a slap, and for a moment, it seemed like Rasheeda might actually give her a real one. She clenched her fists at her sides, her chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. Best baby, don't get it twisted. You couldn't even carry the weight of my name if you tried. You think flashing a smile and clinging to Kirk is enough to make you relevant? Sit down. You're not built for this. The crew started to panic as voices rose. One producer motioned to cut the cameras, but another whispered fiercely, "Are you crazy? This is ratings gold." Security moved in closer, sensing things could turn physical any second. The rest of the cast looked on, torn between intervening and letting the drama unfold. Young Jock muttered under his breath, "Man, this about to get ugly." While Sierra covered her mouth with her hands, wide-eyed. Kirk stood frozen, sweat beading on his forehead. Every word thrown between Rasheeda and Kendra seemed to stab him from both sides. He raised his hands as if to calm them down, but neither woman was looking at him anymore. They were locked on each other, two storms colliding in the middle of the set. "You think you know me?" Kendra shot back, her voice rising. "You don't know half the things I've had to deal with just to stand here today. Don't talk to me about being built for this. I've survived worse than your little attitude. And let's be real, if Kirk really wanted you the way you think, would we even be having this conversation right now?" The gasp that tore through the set could have been heard outside the building. Rasheeda's face hardened, her eyes narrowing into slits. That was the button. The exact button no one dared to push, and Kendra had pressed it without hesitation. Kirk groaned, dragging a hand over his face, but it was too late. Rasheeda's voice cracked like thunder. "Don't you dare come at me about my marriage when you're the one playing second place in your own storyline." Fans watching the raw footage later wouldn't believe how fast it escalated. One moment they were arguing, the next their voices were overlapping in a chaotic symphony of accusations. Rasheeda accused Kendra of disrespecting boundaries, of using Kirk as a prop to keep herself relevant. Kendra accused Rasheeda of holding on too tightly, of refusing to accept that times had changed. Words flew like daggers: insecure, desperate, fake, irrelevant. The producers shouted for calm, but by then, it was too far gone. Rasheeda took another step forward, her voice shaking with fury. "You don't get it, do you? You think this is about you and me, but it's not. It's about respect. And you've disrespected me for the last time." Kendra's smirk faltered just slightly, but she quickly recovered. Spitting back, "Respect is earned, not handed out like hand-me-downs, and honey, I don't need anything from you. I stand on my own." The clash of their voices was deafening. Crew members rushed forward, hands outstretched, begging them to calm down. But the fight had already spiraled past words. Rasheeda's hand shot up, not in a slap, not yet, but in a sharp gesture inches from Kendra's face. That was when the cameras stopped. Not because the producers wanted them to, but because the chaos became unfull. Equipment wobbled as crews scrambled out of the way. Security physically stepped in between the women, holding them back as their shouts echoed across the set. And then, in the middle of the chaos, all eyes turned to Kirk. His silence had become unbearable. Both women screamed his name in unison, their voices cutting through the air like sirens. Kirk. The weight of the moment fell squarely on his shoulders, and for the first time that day, he spoke with something close to authority. "Enough," he bellowed, his voice cracking from the strain. "Both of you, stop this. You think this is what we came here to do? You think this is what we're about? Look at y'all, this is out of control." But it was too late. The damage was already done. Rasheeda was shaking, her voice raw as she shouted, "You let this happen, Kirk. You let her disrespect me over and over again, and now you want to play peacemaker. No, you don't get to stand there and act innocent." Kendra's laugh cut through the noise like glass shattering. "Oh please. He's been letting you run the show for years, and now you're mad because someone else isn't afraid to call you out. Don't blame me for your weak marriage." The words landed like a punch, and Rasheeda lunged forward, only to be held back by two security guards. She was screaming now, her voice cracking with rage, while Kendra continued to taunt her from behind the safety of security's grip. The set was chaos, lights shaking, cameras shoved aside, producers yelling, and cast members trying to pull each other out of the way. And right there, in the middle of it all, Kirk Frost stood with his hands buried in his hair, his face pale, caught between the two women who had just blown his world apart in front of everyone. The set felt like a graveyard after the chaos. The shouting had stopped, but the silence was just as loud. Rasheeda stood trembling, her makeup streaked with tears, her chest rising and falling as she tried to catch her breath. Kendra leaned against the wall, her arms folded tight across her chest, still trying to look unbothered, but her eyes betrayed her nervous, darting, calculating every second. And Kirk had slipped out the back door, leaving behind a battlefield he created, but couldn't control. The producers huddled near the monitors, whispering furiously, "Do we air this? Do we cut it? This is career-ending or career-making." One of them hissed back, "Are you kidding? This is the kind of raw, unfiltered drama that makes love and hip-hop a cultural phenomenon. People will talk about this for years." But another, wiping sweat from his brow, shook his head. "You saw Rasheeda, she's done. If she walks, we lose half the show." Outside the studio, Kirk paced back and forth under the Atlanta sun, his phone buzzing with calls and texts he didn't want to answer. The world was already reacting. Somehow, news had leaked within minutes. Somebody on set had gone live. Shaky phone footage capturing Rasheeda lunging, Kendra taunting, security holding them back. By the time Kirk checked his social media, hashtags were trending. Hashtag RASHEEDAVs Kendra, hashtag on-set chaos, hashtag Kirk caught in the middle. Fans were flooding timelines with disbelief, memes and furious debates. Rasheeda had every right. One fan tweeted, "Kendra been pushing her buttons for too long, and Kirk just standing there like a lost puppy." Another countered, "Nah, Rasheeda jealous. Kendra speaking facts." Time for new blood on this show. Instagram was ablaze with slowed-down clips, dramatic captions, and side-by-side comparisons of both women's reactions. TikTok was worse, fan edits set to explosive music, replaying the moment Rasheeda screamed, "You will never replace me." Back inside, the tension refused to settle. Rasheeda finally broke away from the crew, holding her, and stormed toward her dressing room. She slammed the door so hard the mirror rattled. Inside, she collapsed onto the chair, gripping her phone like it was her last lifeline. She dialed her best friend and vented through choked sobs. "She disrespected me in front of everyone. And Kirk. He just let it happen. He just let her come for me." On the other side of the studio, Kendra was still in the hallway reapplying her lip gloss with shaky hands. She smirked at the cameras that were still trying to catch her every move. "Look, I didn't come here to fight," she said, her tone dripping with mock innocence. "But I'm not about to let anybody play me. Rasheeda wants to act like she's queen bee. But baby, that crown been slipping for a long time. I just pointed it out." Her words were venom disguised as sugar, and she knew the audience would eat it up. Meanwhile, Kirk sat in his car, staring at the steering wheel. He whispered to himself, "What have I done?" He scrolled through his phone, past the angry comments, past the clips going viral, until he reached a text from his son. "Dad, what are you doing?" The weight of it crushed him. For once, the scandal wasn't just TV, it was seeping into his family, into his kids' lives, into the very foundation he claimed he wanted to protect. By evening, blogs had picked up the story. Headlines screamed, "Rasheeda and Kendra explode on set, Kirk silent in the middle." Gossip sites posted blurry screenshots of the fight, each one more sensational than the last. Fans were polarized. Some rallied behind Rasheeda, praising her for standing her ground, while others called her insecure and accused her of clinging to a man who had publicly humiliated her more than once. Kendra, on the other hand, found herself both praised as a fearless truth-teller and dragged as a shameless opportunist. The cast group chat lit up like wildfire. Sierra typed furiously, "Y'all, I can't believe what went down. That was next level." Jock replied with voice notes, laughing nervously, "Man, I ain't never seen Rasheeda go off like that." Kendra, dangerous with her mouth. Kirk, bro, looked like he was gonna faint. Carly, ever the instigator, dropped a string of popcorn emojis and wrote, "This season already legendary. Watch the fans eat this alive." But behind the memes and the gossip, real damage was brewing. Rasheeda sat in her dressing room, scrolling through messages of support from fans but finding no comfort. Her heart ached with betrayal, not just from Kendra's words but from Kirk's silence. She whispered to herself, "After everything I held down for him, this is how it ends. With me being humiliated." Kendra, meanwhile, was already plotting her next move. She knew the fight had given her more screen time than she'd had all season. She rehearsed lines in her head, ready for confessionals. People can say what they want, but I stood my ground. I didn't back down. And that's why they mad. Because I don't fear Rasheeda. She's just another storyline, and I'm about to be the headline. The producers were torn. Part of them worried about Rasheeda walking away, but another part couldn't ignore the numbers they knew this chaos would pull. This fight, one whispered, is bigger than anything we've had in years. If we play it right, it'll define the whole season. But another producer shook his head, uneasy, or it'll destroy it. This isn't just drama tits, personal. We're dealing with real scars now. As night fell, Kirk finally made his way back into the studio. He went straight to Rasheeda's room, knocking softly. No answer. He knocked again, his voice trembling. Rasheeda, please. Let me in. Slowly, the door cracked open, and her tear-streaked face appeared. What do you want, Kirk? She asked coldly. He stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. I never meant for it to get this far, he whispered. I thought I could handle it, that I could keep y'all from crossing lines. But I was wrong. Rasheeda laughed bitterly, shaking her head. Handle it. You can't even handle yourself. You let her come for me, Kirk. You stood there and let her tear me apart while the world watched. Kirk's shoulders slumped. I froze. I didn't know what to do. I was scared of making it worse. Rasheeda's eyes burned with fury. Worse. There is no worse. It's already destroyed. You ruined me, Kirk. You ruined us. Meanwhile, in her own dressing room, Kendra paced back and forth, her phone buzzing nonstop. Friends texted her congratulations, telling her she owned that fight. Fans DM'd her, calling her brave and real. But as much as she tried to soak in the praise, something gnawed at her. Kirk's face, pale and broken, haunted her. She muttered to herself, maybe I pushed too far. But then she caught sight of the headlines again and smirked. Nah. This is the game, and I play to win. Outside the studio, paparazzi had gathered, hungry for pictures. The second Rasheeda emerged, flashbulbs erupted. She shielded her face, ignoring the barrage of questions. Are you leaving, Kirk? Did you hit Kendra? Is this the end of love and hip-hop? When Kendra came out minutes later, she posed deliberately, giving photographers a sly smile. Her message was clear. She wasn't backing down. By midnight, the fight had become the biggest story in entertainment. Talk shows picked it up, bloggers dissected every second, and fans flooded social media with theories. Was this staged for ratings? Was Kirk about to lose both women? Was Rasheeda finally done for good? The internet couldn't get enough, and the frenzy only grew louder with every passing hour. But behind the noise, the fractures were real. Rasheeda lay awake that night, replaying the fight in her head, her heart aching with betrayal. Kendra scrolled through comments, equal parts thrilled and unsettled by the attention. And Kirk sat alone, staring at his reflection, whispering, how do I fix something this broken? The truth was, no one knew, and that uncertainty made the drama even more explosive. The fight wasn't over, it was only the beginning. The fallout would drag their families, their friendships, and their reputations into the fire. And the world was ready to watch every second of it burn. The next morning, Atlanta was buzzing like never before. Coffee shops, beauty salons, barber shops, everywhere you turned, people were talking about the fight. Clips replayed on loop across timelines, every angle dissected, every word analyzed. Fans were divided into camps. Team Rasheeda, loyal and furious on her behalf, and Team Kendra, bold and unapologetic. Kirk had no team, just memes, painting him as the confused man caught in the crossfire of his own chaos. One viral clip showed him with his head in his hands, captioned, "When you realize you ruined two lives and still can't pick a side." VH1's phones rang non-stop. Journalists demanded statements, fans demanded previews, and sponsors demanded to know if the fight would even make the final cut. The network executives gathered in a tense meeting. This could make or break us, one said grimly. Another leaned forward. People live for this, but if Rasheeda quits, we lose our anchor. A hush fell over the room at that possibility. Nobody wanted to imagine Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta without Rasheeda. Meanwhile, Rasheeda refused to leave her house. She sat curled on her couch, scrolling through an endless flood of fan support. We love you, Rasheeda. Don't let her break you. You carried that show for years, Queen. The validation warmed her for a moment, but every time she saw Kirk's face in the clips, her chest tightened. She whispered bitterly, how did I get here? How did I let him drag me into this? Kendra, on the other hand, leaned into the storm. She went live on Instagram that afternoon, her face glowing with fresh makeup, her tone sweet but sharp. "I know everybody got something to say about what went down," she began, sipping casually from a glass of wine. "But let me clear this up. I didn't start that fight. I just stood my ground. If people got a problem with me speaking truth, that's on them." Her comments exploded praise, hate, fire emojis, and threats, all mixing together. She smirked at the chaos, feeding off it like oxygen. Kirk sat alone at Frost Bistro, their family restaurant, staring at the empty tables. He thought about how this place was supposed to be a legacy, something he and Rasheeda built together, but now even that felt poisoned by scandal. His phone buzzed with a call from a producer. "We need you to get both women on camera again. The fans are begging for resolution." Kirk groaned, pressing his hand to his forehead. "You trying to get me killed?" But he knew he couldn't say no. The show was their livelihood, their empire. Without it, they had nothing. Later that week, the cast gathered for a promotional event at an Atlanta lounge. Security was doubled, paparazzi camped outside, and fans lined up just to catch a glimpse of the chaos. As Rasheeda walked in, the crowd erupted into cheers. "Team Rasheeda, Queen forever." She forced a smile, waving to supporters, but her jaw was tight. Minutes later, when Kendra arrived, the cheers turned into boos, mixed with some shouts of support. Kendra, the truth. Rasheeda, scared. The split was loud, raw, and dangerous. Inside the event, producers held their breath as Rasheeda and Kendra ended up in the same room again. Cameras rolled cautiously, capturing every glance. Rasheeda avoided Kendra's eyes, focusing on interviews where she kept repeating, "I don't regret standing up for myself. I deserve respect. Period." Kendra, in her corner, gave a sly smile to cameras, saying, "Some people can't handle change. That's not my problem." Then came the moment no one expected. Kirk walked in. The crowd inside and outside roared, phones flashing as people screamed his name. He looked exhausted, worn, but determined. He made his way to the stage, microphone in hand. "I know everybody's been watching, talking, judging," he began, his voice shaky but firm. "But I need y'all to hear this from me directly. I messed up. I hurt both these women in ways I can't undo. And I let it get to this point. But it stops here. Tonight." Gasps filled the room. Rasheeda's eyes widened, Kendra tilted her head curiously, and the fans leaned in like they were watching history. Kirk's voice cracked as he continued. "I love Rasheeda. Always have, always will. That's my wife, my partner, my family. And Kendra, I respect you, but this fight, this madness, I can't let it destroy all of us." The crowd exploded, in noisome cheering, some booing, some screaming. Rasheeda's lips trembled as she whispered, "About time you said something." Kendra's smirk faltered, her face darkening as reality set in. Kirk put the mic down and walked straight to Rasheeda, reaching for her hand. For a split second, she let him hold it, the room holding its breath. But then she pulled away, shaking her head. "Words are easy, Kirk. Prove it." Fans screamed, cameras flashed, and Kendra stormed out of the lounge, shoving past paparazzi, who chased her for comments. She barked into the cameras, "He's lying to her and she knows it. Don't let him fool you." Her words went viral within minutes. Memes flooded Twitter. Kendra storming out, Rasheeda pulling her hand back, Kirk looking lost as ever. That night, every blog, every gossip site, every entertainment show replayed the footage. Did Kirk just choose Rasheeda publicly? Is Kendra out for good? Is this the end of love and hip-hop as we know it? The drama had officially spilled off set and into the real world, and there was no turning back. Back at home, Rasheeda lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She thought about Kirk's words, about the years of betrayal, about the humiliation. She whispered into the dark, "Do I even have anything left to fight for?" Across town, Kendra poured herself another glass of wine. Scrolling through hateful DMs and clapping back at trolls with savage replies, she muttered, "They'll see. They'll all see." And Kirk. He sat in his car once again, parked outside his own house, too scared to go inside. He whispered to himself, "I gotta fix this. I gotta pick a side before I lose both." But the truth was, no matter what choice he made, the damage was done, and the fight wasn't finished. If anything, it was just beginning. The fallout spread faster than anyone could control. Within days, the fight had become more than just a love and hip-hop storyline. It was a cultural moment. Social media was a battlefield. Team Rasheeda supporters plastered timelines with throwback clips of her building businesses, raising her family, and standing by Kirk through every storm. She earned her crown, they declared. Meanwhile, Team Kendra stans made slick edits, painting her as the new queen, unafraid to challenge the old guard. They blasted Rasheeda as insecure, washed up, and unwilling to step aside. Hashtags like #RASHEEDA and #KendraTakeover trended simultaneously. And the feud took on a life of its own. Family members started weighing in. Rasheeda's cousin posted on Instagram, "Ain't no chick on this planet gon' play my blood like that. Kendra, better chill." Fans screenshot it instantly, flooding blogs with speculation of an even bigger war. Kendra's sister clapped back online. "Y'all mad because my sis speaking the truth. Stay pressed." Suddenly, it wasn't just Rasheeda versus Kendra, it was families, friends, entire circles being dragged into the chaos. Even Kirk's kids couldn't escape it. His daughter shared a cryptic post. "Sometimes silence hurts worse than lies." Fans pounced on it, interpreting it as shade toward her father. Kirk's son tweeted a single broken heart emoji, and within hours, it had thousands of retweets. The Frost family was unraveling in real time, and the world was watching. Meanwhile, VH1 scrambled to keep up. Executive producers called emergency meetings. "We can't let this blow up beyond our control," one warned. Another countered, "Are you kidding? The ratings are through the roof. This is bigger than anything we've ever had." But in private, some admitted they feared the show might collapse if Rasheeda walked out at Frost Bistro. Business was booming for all the wrong reasons. Fans flooded the restaurant daily, hoping to catch Rasheeda or Kirk. Some wore t-shirts that read Team Rasheeda forever. Others wore Kendra's Truth Hurts. One night, two groups nearly got into a physical fight outside the bistro, chanting rival slogans until security intervened. What had started on set was spilling into the streets. Inside the restaurant, Rasheeda sat at a back table with Carly and Sierra, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "I can't even step out without people screaming at me about this mess. It's embarrassing. My marriage, my life turned into memes." Carly reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Girl, you still the queen. Don't let nobody take that from you. Not Kendra, not even Kirk." Sierra nodded, but added softly, "But sis, you gotta decide, are you staying in this, or are you done for good?" Across town, Kendra met with young Jock in a quiet lounge. She stirred her drink, absent-mindedly, her confidence finally showing cracks. "I know everybody think I'm the villain," she admitted, her voice softer than usual. "But Jock, I ain't trying to be no homewrecker. I'm tired of feeling like I gotta bow down to her. I wanted to stand on my own, but now, it's like the whole world hates me." Jock sighed, rubbing his temples. "Kendra, you went for the jugular on national TV. You know the fans ain't gonna let that slide, but I get it. You just wanted respect. The problem is, now the respect turning into war." Meanwhile, Kirk isolated himself more and more. He ignored producers' calls, avoided Frost Bistro, and barely answered Rasheeda's texts. He spent nights in his car, or at hotels, trying to escape the storm he'd fueled. But the world kept pulling him back. Paparazzi ambushed him at a gas station, shouting, "Kirk, who you choosing, Rasheeda or Kendra?" He muttered, "Leave me alone," before speeding off, but the video went viral within hours, captioned, "Kirk Frost can't handle the heat." The pressure built to a breaking point when VH1 announced a reunion special would be filmed earlier than planned. Both Rasheeda and Kendra were expected to show up. Fans lost their minds online. This about to be the most legendary reunion ever. If security ain't ready, somebody getting hurt. The buzz was electric, but the cast felt dread. They all knew fireworks were guaranteed. When the reunion day arrived, tensions were off the charts. The stage glittered under bright lights, but behind the scenes, it was chaos. Rasheeda sat in her dressing room, taking deep breaths, her glam squad working overtime to hide her exhaustion. Kendra paced her room, muttering, "She ain't gonna break me. Not tonight." Kirk sat alone in a hallway, sweat dripping down his back. Knowing he couldn't hide this time, as the cameras rolled, the cast filed onto the stage. The audience roared, holding up signs for their favorites. The host wasted no time diving in. "Rasheeda, Kendra, the whole world's been talking about your fight. What do y'all have to say to each other now?" The silence that followed was deafening. Rasheeda stared straight ahead, refusing to look at Kendra. Finally, she spoke, her voice calm but icy. "I said what I had to say. She disrespected me, and I'm not here to repeat myself. Respect is non-negotiable. Kendra smirked, leaning forward in her chair. And like I said before, respect is earned. I'm not bowing down to nobody. Period. The audience erupted, half cheering, half booing. The host pressed further. But Kendra, do you regret how far it went? Kendra hesitated just long enough to reveal the truth. Regret? No. Do I wish it didn't get that messy? Maybe, but I'm not sorry for standing up for myself. The cameras cut to Rasheeda, whose eyes flashed with fury. Standing up for yourself don't mean tearing another woman down. Especially not me. You came at me sideways because you thought it would get you clout. Well, congratulations, you got it. Now own it. The tension was unbearable. Kirk shifted in his seat, his hands shaking. I can't keep watching this, he blurted. The host turned to him. Kirk, you've been quiet this whole time. Fans want to know where do you stand? The crowd held its breath. Rasheeda stared at him with tears brimming in her eyes. Kendra leaned back, crossing her arms. Kirk finally spoke, his voice cracking. I stand with the truth. And the truth is, I failed both of y'all. I let my mistakes pit you against each other. I don't deserve either of you. Gasps filled the room. Rasheeda's jaw dropped, Kendra scoffed, and the host's eyes widened. But Kirk continued, if I gotta choose where my loyalty lies, it's with the woman who's been by my side through it all. He turned to Rasheeda, his voice trembling. It's with you. The audience exploded, half cheering, half booing. Rasheeda covered her mouth with her hand, tears spilling down her cheeks. Kendra shot to her feet, her voice shaking with rage. So you embarrassed me in front of the whole world just to crawl back to her. You weak, Kirk. Weak. She stormed off the stage, the audience shouting in chaos. Security rushed to follow her as Rasheeda sat frozen, her emotions torn between relief and devastation. Kirk reached for her hand, whispering, please, just give me one more chance. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every trembling second. Rasheeda turned slowly, her voice barely a whisper. One chance too many, Kirk. One chance too many. The crowd gasped again as Rasheeda pulled her hand away. Tears streamed down Kirk's face, his body shaking with regret. The host leaned forward, stunned. So, is this the end? Rasheeda didn't answer. She just stared into the cameras, her silence louder than any words could be. And with that, the reunion descended into chaos. Cast members shouting, fans screaming, and producers scrambling to regain control. But one thing was certain. This wasn't just another season. This was history. Security had both women restrained, but their fury refused to be contained. Rasheeda thrashed against the arms holding her back, her voice breaking as she shouted, across the chaos, you will never replace me, do you hear me? Never. Kendra, her hair slightly disheveled now but her attitude still razor-sharp, leaned forward against the guard's hold and fired back, replace you. Honey, I already did. That's why you're screaming while I'm standing right here? The entire room froze at that line. The audacity of it sending a shockwave through cast and crew alike. Kirk's jaw tightened as he finally stepped closer, his voice trembling between anger and desperation. Y'all gotta stop this. Right now. This isn't the place. This isn't the time. But before he could finish, Rasheeda cut him off, her eyes wild and unblinking as she snapped, don't you dare defend her in front of me. Don't you dare, Kirk. Her words landed heavy, like knives slicing the air, and Kirk staggered back a step, stunned into silence. Producers huddled in the corner, whispering frantically. Some wanted to call it quits for the day, to get everyone out before things got worse, but others insisted they had never seen footage this raw, this real, and that it had to keep rolling. But the cameras were already downdropped by shaken crew members, tilted off balance in the mayhem. What remained now wasn't scripted television. It was pure, unfiltered chaos. Kendra, her chest heaving, shouted over the guard's shoulders. You mad, because I speak the truth. You've been holding on to a man who don't even look at you the same way anymore. Admit it, Rasheeda, scared. Scared of losing what little you got left. Gasps filled the air. Sierra muttered, Lord, this is too much, while Jock shook his head, murmuring, this gone break the internet. Rasheeda's body shook with rage, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes but never falling. She glared at Kendra like she wanted to burn her to ash. Her voice was low now, trembling but lethal. You think this is about fear? No, baby. This is about you stepping into a life you don't understand. You playing games with something I built with blood, sweat, and years. And you're just passing through. Kendra scoffed, tossing her hair back with a defiance that made the room quake. Passing through. Please, if I'm passing through, why can't you let me go? Why? Are you standing here fighting me instead of fighting for your marriage? You mad at me when the real problem is standing right there? She pointed straight at Kirk, her fingers shaking with intensity. Your man can't keep his story straight, and instead of checking him, you checking me. Pathetic. That broke Kirk, he finally snapped, his voice booming through the set, echoing off the walls. Enough. Both of you blaming me, blaming each other, this is insane. Do you even hear yourselves? He looked from one woman to the other, sweat running down his temples. You tearing each other apart for what? For me. For this mess. His hands trembled as he clutched his chest, his words stumbling over each other. I didn't ask for this, I didn't want this. For the first time, both women went quiet. Their fury was momentarily eclipsed by Kirk's outburst. He looked broken, stripped down, his voice softer now, almost pleading. I made mistakes. Plenty of them. But y'all out here making a fool of yourselves in front of everybody. You think the fans won't eat this alive? You think they won't drag all of us? This is too much. But the silence didn't last long. Rasheeda's lip curled as she whispered, mistakes. That's what you call it. She yanked against the guard's hold, her voice rising again. You call years of lies and betrayal mistakes. And now you let this girl disrespect me to my face? You weak, Kirk. You always been weak. The words hit him like blows. He staggered, unable to look her in the eye. That was when Kendra, emboldened, pushed even harder. Don't blame him for everything. You're just mad because your time is up. Mad because people finally see you ain't the queen you think you are. Fans are sick of your sob story, Rasheeda. They ready for somebody new. And guess what? That's me. The roar of voices, the gasps, the frantic shuffling, it all blurred into one wild storm as Rasheeda finally broke free from the guard's grip. She lunged forward, her nails outstretched like claws, and for a split second, it looked like she was going to rip Kendra apart. Security barely caught her in time, pinning her arms as she screamed, "Say it again, say it to my face." Kendra, held firmly by two guards, laughed through the chaos. I just did, sweetheart, I just did. The tension was unbearable. Jock grabbed his phone, muttering, man, this too real. TMZ gone, eat this alive. Carly, Red fanned herself dramatically, whispering, this is history right here. History. Meanwhile, producers finally made the call, filming shut down completely. Crew dismissed, cast ordered to step off the set. But no one moved. The fight had reached a fever pitch, and nobody wanted to miss what came next. Kirk dropped into a chair, his head in his hands. The weight of every mistake seemed to crash down on him in that moment. He whispered something too soft to hear, but Rasheeda caught it. She froze, her anger momentarily stilled. What did you say? She demanded, her voice sharp. Kirk lifted his head, his eyes bloodshot, his voice cracked. I said, I can't do this anymore. The words hung in the air like smoke, choking everyone who heard them. Rasheeda's fury dissolved into shock, her mouth opening but no sound coming out. Kendra blinked rapidly, her confidence faltering for the first time. The set went silent except for the sound of Kirk's ragged breathing. He stood, his voice low, defeated. I'm tired. Tired of lying. Tired of fighting. Tired of watching y'all tear each other apart because of me. Maybe I ain't worth it. The entire cast exchanged looks. Stunned, Rasheeda's chest rose and fell, her emotions clashing in her eyes. Part of her wanted to scream, to call him out again. Another part, the part buried deep, wanted to crumble. She whispered hoarsely, so that's it. That's what you think. That you're not worth it. Kendra shook her head, her voice trembling now too. Don't play victim, Kirk. You put yourself here. You had choices, and you chose this. Kirk's laugh was hollow, bitter. Yeah, I chose, and look where it got Usul. 3 of us drowning in mess for the world to see. He turned toward the door, muttering, I need air. But as he moved, Rasheeda shouted after him, you don't get to walk away this time. You don't get to leave me standing here while you run from the mess you created. Her voice cracked, tears finally spilling over. For the first time, Kendra looked shaken, glancing between them with a flicker of doubt. Security loosened their grip as the fight fizzled into sobs and heavy breathing, but the damage had been done. The set was wrecked not physically, but emotionally. The energy had shifted into something raw and irreversible. Cast members whispered to each other, some already plotting how to spin this in confessionals, others too stunned to move. The war lines had been drawn deeper than ever. And still, Rasheeda and Kendra glared at each other through the exhaustion, both unwilling to back down, both knowing this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning of a battle that would tear their world apart, piece by piece. And there you have it, what started as just another filming day on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta turned into the kind of explosive showdown nobody saw coming. Rasheeda and Kendra's feud didn't just stop at the set, it spilled into social media, into family drama, into the streets of Atlanta itself. Fans are divided, families are torn, and Kirk, he's left standing in the middle of a storm of his own making, with no real way out. The reunion stage gave us what we'd been waiting for, Kirk finally breaking his silence. Finally choosing a side, only for Rasheeda to remind him that some wounds don't heal just because you say the right words. Kendra stormed out, Rasheeda stood her ground, and Kirk crumbled under the weight of years of betrayal and regret. And fans, they're more divided than ever. Team Rasheeda says she deserves better, that she's carried Kirk too long. Team Kendra insists she spoke the truth, that she refused to bow down. And Kirk, well, the internet seems to agree he might not deserve either woman. But here's the real question, is this the end of Rasheeda and Kirk once and for all? Or is there still another shocking twist coming? Will Kendra claw her way back into the spotlight? Or will Rasheeda finally take her crown back for good? And most importantly, can Love and Hip Hop even survive a scandal this big? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. Fans are already speculating about what comes next, and you can bet the cameras will still be rolling. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Should Rasheeda forgive Kirk? Did Kendra go too far? Or is everybody guilty here? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you think this was the wildest fight in Love and Hip Hop history. And don't forget to subscribe because, trust me, the next chapter of this chaos is coming, and you won't want to miss it.